It's a nice day to just set the tone. It's a nice day to just really decide for myself what it is that I want to be on. You there's a lot of momentum that I've already built up. So it's about really just closing the loops of stuff that I've already been doing, whether that comes down to just like saying, putting an X through it, and then really also at the same time being a bit more clear about the things that I still want to be doing. Like, oh, for instance, have I considered that I also need to factor in delivery for my clothes to be delivered? So I need to adjust my budgets for certain things. And then, as well as speaking about budgets, the projects that I that have other people involved in them also need to actually be, spoken to. They need to be included as soon as possible. A big thing for me, I'm becoming more of an advocate for actually speaking about things at that level where you notice that somebody is going to need to be involved, and as early as on as a process, because I usually had my own idea of how I'd want to, control the situation with that person or that idea. The fact that it has a person involved should mean that, it's a social thing. Should be able to get them in on it as soon as possible, because the intelligence that we have as two people would be more open than it would just be if it was me. It's like having two me's. I don't know if that equals like a greater number, or if it just, opens us up to the different skill sets that we have. I mean, I'm definitely planning on doing collaborations with people that have something to offer. And the reason I say that is because I definitely want people to exercise creative autonomy the same way I do. So I'd like to be with someone who, to a large extent, has that ability to, you know, critical thinking in terms of like asking questions and in terms of like offering solutions to what problems we're solving. So that is why it is very important for me to, once I've identified people that need to that I'd like to be involved in certain projects with, to actually go in with that and really just lean in on them. So yeah, and big thing in terms of that, I try to apply the same principle in all areas of my life, including dating. It's a bit more interesting, I guess, because that that is something that is like, very, what can I say? It's a battle. So instead of like battling, it's sort of like, okay, we're battling, but we're also helping each other. In those narratives of the stories where you could actually get help from the person that you're battling. And I think in dating it's the biggest sense. Why do I say dating is sort of like a battle? It just because I have this growing notion that love is war. And I mean, it's growing because it didn't always feel like that. I used to just feel like it was like a one sided thing, but I'd like to think that it's more of like us challenging each other in different ways to be, greater, to get to blossom. So, with that being said, it's like, okay, since we're challenging each other, we can also still cooperate through the challenges together, as opposed to challenging each other. It's like going through the challenges together. And yeah, that was always like an idea that I had of love, just that I had previously reserved for some form of marriage, like that final fantasy kind of thing. It's only fair to live in the end and definitely bring that that principle even in the beginning stages of the relationship, just so we can, be authentic and put our minds together, put our bodies together, put that polarizing energy to effect in order to get things on both sides. And yeah, so that's just something like I'm saying in terms of communication. It's gonna help me in my dating. It's gonna help me get finance. It's gonna help me just get a lot of progress on projects that are being realized, that are being materialized to increase the quality and to make the timelines smoother. I mean, mm, like me being so involved in my planning of the projects, it's nice to delegate some of the tasks to other people. I mean, I've been showing that I'm willing to do everything that I should do, or everything that is to be done. And I think with that, it's like, okay, because I'm willing to, then I can find somebody else to also help me do it, because it's easier to convince someone on something that like we're willing to do already, because they'll pick that up that okay, this person's actually about this, so it's about me helping them do it, not necessarily me doing it for them, or kind of thing. Even though yeah, sometimes people just gotta do things for people, but you wanna come across as definitely like you're you're able to handle it on yourself, on your own, and you've graduated and you need somebody just to like move along with it. And by the time that they're doing it, if it's like a recurring role, by the time they've done it, also to get to that point where we're just moving up and then we get somebody else involved there, it's beautiful. So yeah, that is me. In terms of the fashion, I have been really experimenting with the versatility of my wardrobe. It's amazing how creative I've been with what I've got and how good I feel, because usually, especially being part of the culture usually has certain, outfits that they'd be prescribed to the culture for that season, for that inclusivity, that identification. For me, as I've been, spending more and more times in the later days of the culture, it's more about what do I actually essentially need from the culture, which is, like music, um, opinions and stuff to that accord. So when it comes to things like fashion, especially when considering how fickle it is, I'm actually at a point where I'm building a closet which is long-term reflection of who I am and my values. So any piece that I get should be able to reflect that for years. These things should be like family pieces to an extent. So that's where I'm going in terms of like building my fashion, and yeah, it's a really interesting process. Actually, being clear about being intentional and being the one who's actually finding what what's good for me, what resonates with me. I mean, it is still gonna be a bit seasonal, but I'd say 20% of it, or like even 10% of it, could be seasonal, and the other 80 to 90% to be a real reflection of who I am. Uh, like that is where that is where I am. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that. With me, it's been a journey. I mean, I'm only speaking about it now. I think I've been, some of these things are subconscious. You have a desire to do something, so your brain naturally leads you towards those outcomes. Being aware of what's happening and actually, speaking about it helps to like clearly align now with that part of me, as opposed to like being subconsciously or unconsciously on that path. And then it's a case of me actually really corresponding with it, and letting myself flow in that light. So in that current. Mm. That's where we are right now. Slowing down the stream, aligning myself with beautiful, beautiful people, with capable people, people that are bringing out exciting, stimulating the high aspects of me, people that are sharpening, strengthening my approach to certain things. It's for me more about focusing on the beauty and serenity and all of these things, as opposed to like trying to stop the other stuff, because if that is what, like, whatever you focus on is what you're going to get more of. So I'd rather just focus on exactly what it is that I'd want to get to, we had want to get to once I've resolved all of the crises, and managing that peace, managing that serenity, managing that that euphoria of, like, for instance, let's say I really like to have a girl on top of me, and just making me feel like a really nice, relaxing type of feeling, her riding me. So what do I have to do? What do I have to maintain to actually keep that as a constant, as as a prevailing, activity or hobby of mine? So mm, that that is where my mind is right now, and yeah, she's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be perfect.